afternoon. I'm sure you've heard the word artisans and you've heard the word plumber. One of the components these artisans and plumbers work with is water. Now, I'm sure you've also heard the saying that says, without water, there is no life. From our plumbing side, you will find that water is a scarce commodity. We as plumbers take pride in taking care of that water, but we have major challenges in our country and internationally in the world with water. We have seen of late the disaster that we have due to the mistreatment of water that creates diseases, shortage of water, and where we had recreation over dams and water dams. You would find that, like in the Hartbeespoort Dam, it's covered with hyacinthus, and that creates an issue. It creates an upset in the actual system that we do have. Now, from plumbers, the infrastructure from rivers to dams, to the water pipes, up to the tap in your house is part of a plumber's responsibility that has to treat it according to set regulations and installations that needs to take place. The problem that we have, as you've heard from a school and from the educator's point of view, is training to do it correctly. If it's done incorrectly, that's when we sit with a disaster at the end of the day. To prevent this incorrect installation, training does take place, and presently in our general education, it starts with a civil curriculum at grade 10, 11, and 12, then move into an artisan stage, and there's even a career path in terms of the plumber to reach what is called the master plumber level at the top. On the screen you will see, if this training does not take place, it ends up in chaos. Also, in terms of plumbing, heating of water is a component, and as you've heard for the science individuals mentioning, when water is heated, it expands. On that center photograph, you see one gasping hole in the roof, and that is where that was not installed correctly, and you had an explosion taking apart your house or your asset that you have, together with all the other not so nice photographs of what happens if it is not done correctly. Now, as I said, the solution to protect our water, to protect our health of our nation, to protect the health of the world, we have to train individuals. Training is core to this specific artisan and trade that we have. The Institute of Plumbing is a collective effort to, in actual fact, ensure that information is circulated and shared correctly. It is there to ensure that we do training correctly. And the Institute of Plumbing South Africa is also linked to the World Plumbing Council to have that. In our country, the only trade that has a professional body similar to that of a doctor, you've heard the similarity and the comparison that a plumber could earn more than a doctor. It is probably so. You've seen in this morning's news, there was something like 114 doctors that was operating illegally have been arrested. Now, unfortunately, we haven't made progress to have illegal plumbers arrested. You will also find that in terms of our latest census recording, there's something like 120 plumbers or individuals that recorded their occupations as plumbers, but there's only 12,000 that is registered with the professional body and to have a license to operate as a plumber. Now, from my side, I can assure you that training will continue in terms of this nation to ensure that we have a healthy and a safe environment through that. But through a collective issue, it is sometimes a very, very hard road to travel. And yes, there is changes that have to take place within our community, within the attitude. You've heard the challenges in terms of artisans that artisans is seen as second-grade citizens, which is not true. And if you look internationally, you will find that internationally, UK, New Zealand, Australia, and US are recruiting our South African plumbers due to the proper structured training program that we have. You've also heard about methodologies that have changed within plumbing. The Institute has an e-learning platform that is progressed. We have a metaverse where you can, in actual fact, simulate certain situations to an actual fact, train individuals similar to what happens. Technology changes very fast, and the Institute is staying abreast to ensure that we do have that. There's also a quality council that certifies these individuals that have been trained, been assessed, and has been certified as qualified plumbers. There is a license card, so as a consumer, you can always check. You don't have to have a laborious process by just asking the licensed plumber's license card to ensure that you operate legally within that, and there is a certificate of compliance post the job that is issued. Qualified plumbers are in demand. I'm proudly to say that yes, I am a plumber. I'm a third-generation plumber in the family, and I really enjoy it. And for those of you that say, is this worthwhile as a career, I can assure you it is most definitely a very rewarding career.
Thank you so much for that. I think you've spoken so well, and you've certainly put a case forward for why anyone should consider a career in plumbing. You represent the Institute of Plumbing South Africa. So you've got a broader context of what's happening in the country. Where do you think the biggest challenges are when it comes to actually attracting people into the sector?
There's a misconception that plumbing is a very hard job and very strenuous job. Things have changed in terms of material, from metallic pipes to PVC pipes, etc. So that is changing. In terms of the community, in terms of the consumer, it is also something that we should change from a motivational point of view to do that. However, one needs to understand that, yes, technology is part of the plumbing industry. The change in technology, the specialization that takes place, it is not as broad as it's been in the past. And I think the challenges is attitude that we have to say and promote the actual artisanship, which is most definitely a shortfall in our country.
Dichaba is asking, can we get virtual reality or 3D simulations of how plumbing works for senior phase?
Yes, it is available. In terms of that, it is process in development in terms of that from our metaverse that we've had, and we've now just added the fiber lines into it so that individuals can, from that virtual reality and the glasses that you work on it. But again, as we've heard, the technology is there, but using the technology and the content of the technology is a challenge presently to ensure that we have sufficient of that loaded.
You've spoken about how, there were illegal or doctors practicing illegally that were arrested. That hasn't happened in the plumbing industry. Let's talk then about where the challenges are, particularly with the quality of skill that one needs to possess in order to do this job. I'm just thinking, you drive around on a Saturday going to a mall or even some of the warehouses where you buy some household goods, you'll see people holding up boards saying, plumber for hire, I'm available.
Only way to check that is to ask for the license card. Because if it's done incorrectly, with the present technology, if you take, for example, you have the old taps, so the hot and the cold tap, it's two different components. Presently, you move on to a single lever mixer. There's a specific way that has to be installed. Otherwise, it will not operate and it will not work. And the guarantee on that product will not stand. So one needs to be very careful with that. But from the consumer, it's the best to ask, please show me your license card.
All right, fantastic. Nick, thank you so much for that presentation. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Kathy.
All right.